Hi everyone, Jen here for Country Craft Creations with you today. And I want to show you how to make some super fun Valentine's cards. Now I've made mine using the Carta Bella My Valentine collection. There is still some of this available in the store. Not all of the pieces, but if you already have this paper, you could do them the same way that I did. I'm, for the sake of the tutorial, going to use last year's exclusive Valentine Country Craft Creations paper, Love is in the Air, to show you how to make this envelope card. And then, so this is, it looks like an envelope both on the front and on the back. I did a little stamp there. It looks like I got a little mark on there. I'm not sure how that happened. Anyways, when you open this up, we have a magnet closure. And then two little pockets inside that you could stuff stuff. And I just have one little thing in here. But these are both pockets. I've used the sticker sheet here as well to embellish this. And these are super easy to make and super fun. You can totally make them with any collection. Then I have a gatefold shaker card, also with a magnetic closure down here on the bottom. And as you can see, when you open this up, all the fun stuff inside. Super fun. And then my 5x5 flip up treat card is also super fun. So this is a 5" by 5" card with a small box pocket in it that you can put some fun little treats like these little Ghirardelli mints. So these are all super simple to make. And I'm going to start with that envelope card. And I'm going to show you how to cut your angles and everything on that. Let me just put this away and grab my scoreboard. So for the envelope card, we're going to start with a 12" by 7" piece of white Artisan cardstock. And I am going to grab a tool here that's not as sharp. I have lost my smoother tool. So what you want to do is you want to score this at 4.5. And then we want to score it again at 9. And that's going to leave that 3 inches at the end that we're going to angle cut. Okay. So now you can see you have your envelope that will fold up. And I like to get this right up to that edge before I burnish, just in case my score marks were a tiny bit off. And then we're going to fold this down. Now, if you didn't want that angled look, it is an optional thing. You don't have to do it. There is a little bit of maneuvering involved to get this angled look here. So what you want to do is you want to cut so you have the top squares here. The left side, you want to make a mark right at 1 1/4. So we're just going to go here. And I'm going to go 1 1/4 over from that 3" mark. And I'm going to make a small little pencil mark. So I have my 1 1/4 is going to be the 1 3/4 mark. Okay. And then on the other side, I'm going to flip this because it's hard to see from here. I also want to make a mark right at 2 7/8. Okay. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go over 1 2 7/8, which would be the 4 1/8. Okay. And then we're just going to simply take our ruler and line up those 2 dots. Put your ruler on the marks at the edge, and we're going to make a small line there. Then on the other side, you want to make your little mark at 1 1/8. So I want 1 1/8. So I'm going to go right here from the 4.5 mark. I'm going to mark the 5 5/8. And then I'm just going to take this from that one that we marked on this side, and I'm going to draw my angle. And you can see that gives you this nice little angle. And then I'm just going to put it in my cutter Let me get this out of the frame. And you can use any kind of cutter for this. I am just going to use my guillotine. Line that right up. Make sure I'm in the frame here. I'm going to line that right up. And cut that off. And do the same thing with the other one. Line that up. And cut that off. And if you have any leftover pencil marks, use a white eraser because we're using white paper. Just grab a white eraser. My fun little Paddington pencil I received at the retreat from Fauna. I'm just going to mark off any excess lead that was on there. And now you can see that's our fun little angled pocket. Now when we cut the mats and the decor page papers for this, those will also be, we'll be using this as a guide. So keep that in mind. So now I'm just going to burnish out everything I have here. And we will mat and decorate this. So for the cover, I've used the red, which this is red cherry Artisan cardstock that I'm using. Each one of these is cut to 6 7/8 by 4 3/8, and these will go here. And then I've cut this paper for covering from the Love is in the Air paper. This is 6 3/4 by 2 and, or excuse me, 6 3/4 by 4 1/4, and that will go on the cover. Okay. So that's what we're going to have on the cover, and this will be our back. The same measurements, but this will be the back side. Okay, super cute. I love this paper. So you will have 2 of the red at that 6 3/4 by 4 1/4. And then your pattern pieces that you choose are, I'm sorry, these are 6 7/8 by 4 3/8, and these are 6 3/4 by 4 1/4. For the inside, you're going to have, I've got, this is the Coral Rose Artisan cardstock, and these are cut to be on this top portion, and they're 6 7/8 by 3. So these will go up here and down here. So then you'll have these 2 pattern pieces that are 6 7/8, the same width as our background, by 2 1/2. And these will be our little tuck pockets. Okay? Easy peasy. Okay. So let's start by decorating our inside because it's a little simpler. Such a pretty color. And it goes really well with a lot of different pinks. It's a good coordinating pink. So I'm going to lay that down. Grab my little rag here. Burnish that out. And do the bottom one. Again, these are 6 7/8. These are 6 7/8 by 3. And just eyeball these so that they line up nicely with the one at the top, and burnish them down. And you can cut these full page if you want. I did not. I wanted to save paper, and by adding just this tuck pocket portion as the bottom, I don't really need to. So then we have 2 tuck pockets. For the tuck pockets, we're just going to go down the sides and across the bottom with our glue. line those right up, leaving the same amount of space all the way around with that white showing. And then burnish out your glue. Okay, these are super simple to make. You could make several of these as gifts for all those fun people that you send Valentines to. And if you have this collection, it's also a super fun one. There's also the new Cupid collection from Country Craft Creations that just came out. These cards would be adorable using that vintage paper. So that's how quick and easy it is to get the inside portion of the card done. Now what I want to do is show you how to cut these. So the inside one will be solid red, and the outside will have a cover. So for the solid red one, I'm going to start there. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to line this up on here. And I'm going to look at my back side. As you can see, I have this lined up. And I'm going to use a white pencil so that it's a little easier to see. I just want to go down this line and up this line. And I'm overlapping a little bit because this needs to be a little bit smaller. And you can use a cutter or your scissors, either one. I'm just going to eyeball this on the inside portion of that white line, and I'm going to cut with my scissors. Right along the inside. And if I don't get it exact, which I did not, I want this at a point. So there we go. And that I just will put right inside here. And that is just going to be by itself. And I'm going to go ahead and use this one now that I have one cut. I think I want this just a little bit thinner on this side. So I'm going to go ahead and shave that off. I need this the opposite way. So I'm going to use it this way. And I'm going to go ahead and cut this. Use this as a cut guide. So what I want to do is just put this on my paper, use that white pencil, and I am going to mark it and then cut on this side. Again, the inside portion of that white line is where I want to cut. If you cut on the outside, your paper that you cut will be too big to fit. So now I should have one that fits nicely on here. And then I'm going to use this polka dotted paper to cover this. So I'm going to go up just a little bit, and I'm going to use this as a guide to cut this as well, just like we just did the rest, and that will be my cover here. So let's go ahead and decorate our outside pieces. Starting with, this is our back side, so we will have that red cherry cardstock and that fun stripe. Now, I did flip this because I liked the way the lines looked. It was a scrap of paper left from a project I made with this. Love to use up my scraps. And this is going to be our cover. So we want to make sure that this is upside down when we put it on, because otherwise it would be upside down when you turn it. So let's go ahead and put this on and this on, and I will be right back. Okay, so before we put our cover on, I have my mat down. We need to decide where we're going to put our magnet. So I've chosen a one of the ephemera pieces, the cut aparts, and I've done this Be My Valentine, super duper cute. I'm going to, it's going to attach up here, so we need the magnet somewhere down here. And I want to place that magnet between the two pages. So on top of the mat, but under the decorative paper. Okay, so I apologize. I'm not quite sure what happened at the last segment of my video, but for some reason it stopped recording at the end when I was doing the magnet closure on the envelope card. So I'm just going to walk through these one more time with you so that you understand the magnet. What I did, I ended up choosing a different one of the cut aparts. I put that down on some of the red paper and I cut around it, leaving a little bit of a border of that red paper showing. And then my magnet is sandwiched between that cut apart and the red paper. So it's right inside here. And then I just glued the area that would attach to the top portion of the envelope card. And as you can see, that's a really good hold. And added one of the fun little element cut aparts on the back as well, like I did on the Carta Bella paper one. Okay, so I will be moving on now to the candy card, which is this fun little thing with the little pocket in the inside. And I'm going to show you how to do that one. I'm going to go ahead and use some of the leftover papers that I have of the My Valentine Carta Bella collection. And I will show you, let me grab my scoreboard here, how this one is made. Another super simple way to make a card for Valentine's Day. So what we have here is a 5" by 10¼ piece of the white Artisan cardstock. And we're going to put that on our scoreboard at that 10¼ I'm going to grab a bone folder here, and we are going to score this. Not that bone folder, that's a little sharp. I need to invest in some better bone folders that don't wear down so much. So we're going to score this at 5, and we're going to score it again at 5¼ And what that's going to do is give us a little bit of a spine just to, as you can see, house our candy box on the inside, that little pocket. So I want to line this up and get that straightened out before I burnish. I'm going to use my scoreboard here, and I am going to go right to the edge just to make sure everything lines up before I burnish it, and then the other one. And that's going to give us that little 1/4" spine. And again, if you love this Carta Bella My Valentine paper, there is still some of it available. And also the Love is in the Air paper, and the new Cupid's Heart paper is just adorable. And you could do that with any of these Valentine's papers, or any Valentine's papers that you may have already. As you can see, the differences here. This is the envelope card using the Carta Bella, and this is Love is in the Air Country Craft Creations exclusive. Okay, so what is needed for this? We're going to start making sure, like I said, that all of these lines line up nicely, because we want our card to close nicely over that box pocket that we're going to add. And we are going to start on the outside first. So I'm going to flip it so I'm on my front cover here. And I have taken a piece of the pink. You can do either side. That's one of the things I absolutely love about Echo Park Carta Bella papers, is their coordinating solids have 2 sides, and you can pick. I am going to go with the pink side on this one. And this is going to be a 4 3/4 by 4 3/4 square. So I'm going to put this on first. This is our first mat. And I think I'm actually going to do the darker pink side on this. I actually like that look better, because our inside pocket is this lighter pink. And I am using the white Artisan cardstock for my base this time. The last one that I did, this one here, I actually used the Carta Bella paper. So we had that peachy color on the inside, and then the darker red on the outside. So we're going to lay this down. And I chose to do that 4 3/4 by 4 3/4 because I wanted a little bit more of the white showing on this portion. So I'm just going to straighten that out. Nope. It's a little off here. I'm going to pull this up and go over just a little bit. I am eyeballing this rather than using a board, so sometimes it gets off a little. I'm going to go ahead and burnish that out. I seem to have lost my large burnishing tool. Not quite sure where that went, so I'm just going to go all the way around the outside and in the middle to burnish out that glue. And then our next piece was cut from the 6x6 pad, so it's smaller, but there is a 12x12 option in this. So whatever decorative paper you're using, I just chose on both cards a nice print, because only the outside of it will show. But this is going to be 4.5 by 4.5. And again, I want a good portion of that colored cardstock underneath as a border. Get all that excess glue out of there. I like to take my bone folder, that whatever one I'm using, and just go all the way around all those edges just to make sure that my corners adhere nicely. Next up, we have another sheet of the color. I don't have the paper left to tell you the flip side color of this, but I'm going to go with the pink side this time. And this is 4 inches by 4 inches. Again, leaving a little bit of that border, more so than I normally would when I'm matting a mini album page. And I'm just going to have just enough all the way around. There we go. Kind of use those hearts there as a guide to line me up. Again, I'm going to go press all the corners down. And then I took one of the 4x4 cut aparts and I have cut this down to 3 7/8 by 3 7/8. And that will go on top of that pink. Okay. So cute. This paper collection is adorable. And like I said, some of the pieces for this set are no longer available, but you may have already purchased it and were wondering what to do with it. Or you can use a different collection. So that is our cover. Very, very simple. We're going to go to the inside. Now you could put paper up here if you wanted, or it's some sort of an embellishment. I chose not to do that on this one, and I don't believe I will do it on this one either. I may add a little sticker or something from the sticker set. Not quite sure. I just basically want to show you what we're doing as far as the construction. So I am going to choose whether I want this darker or the lighter, and I'm going to go with the darker for my pocket. So for our box pocket, we need a piece that is 6 inches long and 2 1/4 inches tall. I'm going to grab my scoreboard again. I'm going to place this on here at the 6-inch, and we are going to score at 1/4 and 1/2. Okay. And then we're going to score again in at 1/4 and 1/2, and then turn and do the same thing. 1/4, 1/2. Okay. And that should leave you with 5 inches in the middle. If I cut this correctly, yes, 5 inches. Okay. So then you just want to grab some scissors. I'm going to grab cutter bees here. And this portion here, the bottom corners, we're just going to snip those out. We don't need those for our little box pocket. And these box pockets are fun. You can put these in anything as long as the page, if you're doing it in a book, or the card has the room to do it. So you would need a spine of some sort. So now you have this piece like this. We're going to fold in and burnish all of our score lines nicely. The inside ones first. And then we want to do the outside ones as well. And you're going to want to have a couple of clips handy for this portion. I'm just using these little bullnose clips. These ones here. And what we're going to do is we're going to fold that in, take a little bit of dab of glue right on that corner, and then fold your other corner in and line it up so you get a nice square. And then I'm going to slip this clip right inside of there and just kind of adjust because I don't want a crooked pocket. I want it nice and square. It might take a little maneuvering, or you can hold it for just a moment to get that glue to tack down a little bit better before attaching your clip. So I am going to go in and put that on. And I'm going to do the other side the exact same way. So dab of glue there, roll that pocket in, or that corner in, line them up so you get a nice crisp corner, and then just grab a hold of it. If you don't have fingernails, this might be a little trickier to get that nice and straight, but we want it nice and straight so it sits on the pocket. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside and let it dry and get my scoreboard out of the frame here. And we're going to add our top piece. Now, this piece only needs to cover the bottom portion up to where the pocket is, maybe a little bit over. So as long as when you put your pocket down, this covers the bottom portion of it, it doesn't have to be the full 5-inch piece. So what I've done here is 4 7/8, and mine is 3 1/2. That is a good reference. If you prefer to cover the whole page, it would be 4 7/8 by 4 7/8. We're just going to go up almost to the score line there, but do not overlap it, because you want your card to turn. And I see I got that. Just wipe that out. And there you have that portion. Next, I'm going to go ahead and add a piece of paper to the front of my box pocket. And you can do this previously if you like, before you roll your corners. This is just how I do it. So this is 4 7/8 by 1 5/8. And I'm just going to add some glue to that. And I'm going to be tricky about this, and I'm going to lay this down on here. Line it up where I want it. And then I'm just going to go underneath to burnish. And there you have it. There's our pocket. And this should be glued. It should not take too terribly long to glue our pocket down. And it is. So I'm going to go ahead. So now what you want to do is just kind of press down those edges so that it's a nice, secure, sharp line. And we are going to, as I can see, this one turned in a little bit, but that's okay. We're just going to add glue to those little 1/4 inch portions. And we are going to place this on our card. Make sure I'm getting everything in the frame. Use the paper to line this up. It's going to be 5 inches, remember, not the 4 7/8 of the paper above. So you just kind of want to line this up with your bottom portion and your sides of your white paper, if that's what you're using, whatever your background paper is. And then I'm just going to put it up here and line it up a little bit better. Okay, and then we just want to go in with our bone folder and mark that down. I apologize if you can hear my cat in the background. He is very loud. He's 18 years old, and he is, we do believe, has dementia. So he goes around the house crying all the time. So that is your box card. That's how you make one of those. And then as you can see, like I did with the other one, you can simply slip some treats in here. You could put a larger candy bar, some tea, gift cards, anything you want to give as a little treat for Valentine's Day. And like I said, I will probably embellish this further with some stickers or some sentiments on the inside. Easy peasy. Next, we'll move to the fun little gatefold shaker card. Now, that one is a little bit more work, but it is well worth it when in the end. It's just absolutely adorable. So what it is a 5x7 gatefold card with a magnetic closure and a shaker heart in the middle. Super, super fun. And the shaker embellishments are from Buttons Galore and More. There's a multitude of different ones that you can get from the Country Craft Creations store. So how we're going to start this card is I will first show you how I constructed my shaker, and we'll get that constructed so it can dry. And what I've used is some dies from my stash. Many of us have nesting dies that are basic shapes. These are cross-stitched hearts that I have in my stash. I also have some other hearts. If you don't have these, you can cut hearts out of your Cricut or other die cutting machine like that. Brother, you may have a larger set of punches, or you can simply cut out hearts by hand. So I have cut several of these in different sizes. And for the shaker itself, so the acetate I purchased from Country Craft Creations. You can buy it in sheets. I die cut my heart so it was the same size. And then I did about 7 layers of lightweight chipboard hearts that I cut out by using these 2. So they were nested together to make a frame. So it comes out like this when it's done. And I just sandwiched those together. Now, one of the things that I like to use is a combination of actual lightweight chipboard because it's a little stiffer. That is also available at the store. And then I use the back sides of paper packs that I get. This is a little thinner, but because it is thicker than paper, it works really well to make these shakers. Once I had all that layered together, I had clipped these with my bullnose clips and let it sit. And the glue on the acetate, you have to make sure that this really adheres or all of your shaker bits will just go underneath. So just make sure that you get a good hold before assembling. Then I'm just going to simply turn this upside down and fill it. So I'm going to grab, what I like to do is use a combination of different bits when I make my shakers. So I have some different pink sequins here. And I am going to throw a few of those in there. And I have these adorable buttons galore and more buttons, tiny buttons, super, super cute. These are still available. Just going to open this up and grab a couple of these cute little things. I don't need too many, just a couple. Oops, well, I guess it wanted me to have one more because it came out of the package. And then I am going to grab from this one some of these, also super fun. This little sequined heart. And I'm going to grab some of the other items from that. And then I have also some pink crystals from Buttons Galore and More. These are the strawberry. And the package is fighting me today. I'm going to throw a couple of these in there too because I love this pink. Okay. So now I have this nice little mix. I'm going to pour. Oh, I don't know what that big button is there, but that does not go in there. Not quite sure. That will not fit. You want to make sure that you make your shaker boxes thick enough to house the largest shaker bit that you put in. I'm going to go ahead and just put those in there. That seems a little full to me, so I'm going to pull a couple of these pieces out. I'm not quite sure if that's... Nope, that's okay. It's just nice and full. All right. And then I want to do this gorgeous heart background. I'm going to put that on the back side. So I'm going to take my glue and I'm going to put it all the way around here and up in here. And then I just want to kind of push it down a little because I don't want it to seep out off the edges, because if it seeps out, it will stick to all of my shaker bits, and I don't want that. So I'm going to flip it to that side, and I am going to close this shaker box up. And you could also use a prefabbed shaker box. There are some out there. Okay, I'm going to run my bone folder around just to make sure that that paper glues down so it does not attach to any of my bits. And there we have our fun. Isn't that cute? And then I cut an extra one of the pink. And we are going to go ahead and add glue to that. And place that on the cover as a frame. And you may find when you get this all together that if you're doing it with dies like I did, sometimes the dies will slip a little in the machine and they may not all be exactly the same, and you'll get a little bit of overhang. And that's okay. If it bothers you, you can cut it off. For me, it didn't bother me. I'm going to grab some clips and I am going to clip this all down so it can dry while we're doing our card. Want to make sure I get a nice hold. And glue, for some reason, does not always like to stick to And I can see a tiny little overhang of acetate that I'm going to go ahead and snip off here. I don't want to cut into my heart, but I don't want that much acetate hanging out. All right, so then just go around and push down all of your clips, and we're going to let this sit and dry. All right, so for the card, I also cut one large out of the plaid colors, the pink plaid. Let's grab that scoreboard back again. And for this one, we are going to have a 10-inch by 7-inch piece, okay? So for this, you want to score at 2.5. Okay, and this is also white Artisan cardstock. So 2.5 and 7.5. All right. And I have found when making gatefold cards that it is much simpler to flip the card and turn your doors of your gatefold away from the score line. It will line up in the middle much better than if we do it the other way. See what I mean? It goes right up to that edge. Go ahead and burnish that out. And that is the basics of the gatefold portion. Okay. All right, let's get this scoreboard out of the way. Now this card does take a little bit of cutting. You could use the dies themselves that you use to make the heart. I chose just to cut them out, the holes, when I get this done. Rather than trying to cut it out of each piece of paper, I just assembled my doors, placed my heart, and then cut. So we're going to start with our inside portion. And this will also have a magnet that's going to go to hold these doors closed. So I need to grab my magnets here, and it looks like I have one set left in this package, so I'll just go ahead and grab those. Excuse me. Okay, so I've got my magnets over here. What I want to do next actually is go ahead and adhere our pieces that go on our doors. So I'm going to start on this side, and I have cut 2 pieces of the lighter pink that measure 2 3/8 by 6 7/8, and then 2 of the flowers wrapped in newspapers that are 2 1/4 by 6 3/4. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and glue those down. And I had these cut so that if you're cutting from a pattern, it's always nice to try to cut from the same sheet of paper if something is side by side. That way you get that continuous pattern. But first I'm going to get my mats on here. Okay, and here's one. So now, as you can see, you have your pink doors. Got those lined up pretty good. And I just keep burnishing as I go on these score lines of the doors because I want to make sure that this paper is trained to lay. So like I was saying, I have these 2 cut from the same. So when they're together, which there'll be a heart in between, but the visual is still that it comes from a continuous piece of paper. So this is this side. I'm going to go ahead and I am going to glue that one down. And like I said, you can do this with, you can pre-cut this out with dies if you were using a nesting die set. But I chose just to cut it when I get to that portion by hand. For one, you need to cut it a little bit bigger to house the shaker box. And it just works out well to cut it by hand. Okay, let's put that one down. And there you have that portion. So next what you need to do is once our shaker box is dry, we will put it on here. But for now, I'm going to let that dry up a little. And I've grabbed one of the frames and tags pieces, which these are out of stock right now. But if you already have them, you can use them. Or you could use a stamped sentiment or something else from your stash to do the bar that we're going to put a magnet in. I'm just looking off to the side here for what color paper I want to back this with. It's not the chicken my scraps. I'm going to go with that peachy pink. I really like that with that background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this, excuse me, down to the paper here. So I can create a border kind of like we did with the envelope card. And I'm just going to leave enough so that I can make a border all the way around this. Good way to use your scraps is to use them for matting of other pieces. And I actually just forgot to stick the magnet in there. That might be helpful since this is for the magnets. Let's see what I did with my magnets. Here they are. All right, so I'm going to stick a magnet underneath of there. And we want it on the end of the closure. So this will go on the right side. And as long as it's on that end there, it will work out just fine because it's going to close this flap. Burnish all the way around that magnet just to make sure we have a nice tight fit. And then I'm going to grab a smaller cutter. I'm just going to grab my guillotine here. Set my card aside. Make sure I'm in the frame for you. And then I'm going to cut this down to where I want a border. That is not very straight. All right, that's way thicker than I want. I just kind of want a small border of that colored paper. And I'm going to cut enough all the way around, and then I'm just going to use a corner rounder on this to get that corner rounded look like the piece that I'm using. Go ahead and cut this down a little bit more. I don't need a lot. I just want this for stability, as well as it's nice to have that little finished border around the outside. It's a good look. More of this end. And you can put as much or as little of a border as you like. I'm good with this. Grab my little corner rounder, and as you can see, these rounded corners are really big, so they're like the 10 millimeters on the We Are Memory Keepers. Ooh, that didn't. Here we go. Let's see. Now we have this fun little piece here. And next, what we want to do is grab the other magnet, as you can see there. And it picked it right up. But these are a minus because that's what I had left. So I'm going to put a piece of score tape on the back of this magnet side, so it'll stick to our paper. Peel that backing off. Okay, and then I want to set this on my card right in the middle so I can see where it is. I'm going to hold that down. And I'm going to lift this up, line that up nicely, and then we're just going to pick that up, and that's where our magnet will go. Set that part aside. Peel this magnet backing off, although we will have glue. You don't really have to. If you had a plus and a minus, you wouldn't have needed the score tape portion that I just did, but unfortunately, I did not do that. So then for our back piece here, I have a piece of the reverse of what we used on the doors, and this is going to be 4 7/8 by 6 7/8. And we're just going to place that right in that middle section. And then we will burnish that down nicely, especially around that magnet. And then I'm going to go around with my, just make sure everything closes up nicely. And then I am going to decide exactly where I want my shaker. So this should be nice and glued. I'm going to go ahead and pull all these clips off of here. And I am going to align my shaker. Put this on so I can see right about where that's going to land. And that looks good to me. Just eyeball it. And use the corner of your shaker and the middle to kind of line you up as far as top and bottom. And then I'm just going to grab a pencil and I am going to trace the outline of this heart. And don't worry about the pencil line because we will cut outside of it anyways. So when you cut outside of it, to make the hole just a little bit bigger than the actual shaker, it will disappear. All right, as you can see, we have our cut apart. Okay, now I'm just going to simply use my scissors. I'm going to grab a thicker pair of scissors, excuse me, than my cutter bees, and I am going to by hand cut this on the outside, just on the outer side of that heart, where I drew that line, just a little bit, about a 1/16 of an inch past it. Okay, and you want to be careful when doing this because we have all that paper glued down. We want to make sure we get a nice straight, well, it's round, but non-jagged line, let's say. But we also want it to fit. And so there may be a little bit of trimming that is done. You can also do this with an X-Acto knife that does the round cutting a little easier. But as you can see, we have our first cutout on that side. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing on this side, just going outside the edges of that heart line that I drew. Okay, so now I have that, and I'm just going to take, I have this older tool from Prima, and I'm just going to run it along, it's like a file, the edge of that, just to get any excess paper from cutting it smoothed out a little bit. Okay, now you could have decorated the inside. I chose to leave mine white. And I will embellish it with stickers if I choose to. So next, our large heart that I cut goes on the inside here. We want to just kind of line that up. It needs to go up higher so that it is under all this paper here. And you could add another sentiment also to the bottom of this if you like. So there we have our heart. And then we want to see if our shaker is going to fit properly, which it fits nicely, but we want to make sure that you can open and close the doors around it. So that side opens and that side opens. That's how we do that, okay? So now that I have that heart down, I am going to glue it, the big one. And I'm going to make myself a little white mark on this spot so I know this is where my corner goes, because I can erase that. Go ahead and add glue to this heart. And that goes right there. Make sure that's on there good and straight. And then I'm just going to grab a white eraser and get rid of that little mark that I made. Here we go. So then we're just going to add glue to the back of that heart. And I would say an ample amount because you want it to have some open time. So you can slide it around and make sure that your doors are still closing. So close your doors. Set your heart in there. Hold it down and make sure that those doors are going to close and open. There we go. Perfect. And then I'm just going to let that sit on there to dry. I just kind of want to press it down a little. You can turn it over if you're cautious with your burnishing and just kind of softly run a bone folder down the back so that this doesn't bubble. Super fun, huh? Now we're going to add this. I just want to get that lined up and make sure it's nice and straight. And then we will add our glue. I am just going to run glue right up to that paper clip. And then we can adhere this. Making sure we're nice and straight. Pull that out of there. And these sometimes need to bend. And there you have it. There's another fun shaker card. So we have this fun one and this one, and you can add other stuff to these. And we have our two envelope cards again with the fun pockets. And then, of course, our fun little candy cards that you can put anything, candy, anything you want inside of there. Ooh, flying candy. And on this one, I had added a couple of the extra hearts that I cut out that you could write a sentiment. You could stamp a sentiment in there, which is super cute. And you could put your candy on that heart. You could glue it on. Also would be super cute. So that is my Valentine's cards. These are super easy to make, and like I said, can be made in any collection. I've done these in the Carta Bella My Valentine, as well as the Country Craft Creations exclusive Love is in the Air. So get these papers, or grab your favorite Valentine's paper and make some of these. It's super fun. I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks for watching.